What happens when a lion, trapped by fire on all sides, faces his last strength? The way he responded in those burning minutes left rescuers silent. The morning began heavy with silence. The forest, usually alive with the rustle of leaves and the calls of birds, was unnaturally still. A low wind carried the dry smell of pine needles and dust. It brushed the mane of a lion moving slowly through the undergrowth. His steps were deliberate, his body lean from the heat of the season. When he lowered his head to drink from a narrow stream, the only sound was the steady rhythm of his breathing and the soft ripple of water. Nearby, a small antelope calf had stumbled into a thicket of thorny vines. Its thin legs kicked in panic. The lion turned, his amber eyes narrowing, not with hunger, but with recognition of distress. He pushed forward, his powerful shoulder breaking branches, his muzzle nudging the calf free from the snare of thorns. The frightened animal leapt away, vanishing into the forest. The lion remained still, chest heaving, his mane lifting in the faint wind. For a brief moment, he seemed less like a predator and more like a guardian of the land. Then came the sound, a sharp crack of dry wood snapping under pressure. The wind shifted, carrying a heat that did not belong to the morning. Smoke, dark and rising fast, curled upward beyond the treetops. Within minutes, flames appeared, leaping from branch to branch. The forest had turned into a furnace. The lion raised his head sharply. His nostrils flared as he inhaled the acrid air. He coughed, then gave a deep, guttural roar that cut through the silence. His body tensed and he moved quickly, paws striking the earth in uneven strides. But the fire spread faster than instinct could guide him. Trees lit like torches. Ash fell from above, stinging his back. The animal tried to find a path, his movements frantic. He turned left, only to face a wall of flame. He turned right, and another curtain of fire blocked the way. Sparks clung to his mane, singeing the tips of his hair. His breath grew harsh, each exhale raspy and strained. He stumbled once, recovered, then pressed forward again, driven only by the primal urge to live. Through the thick smoke, faint voices echoed. Human voices. Rangers on patrol had seen the rising column of fire. They moved quickly, dragging brooms of wet branches, trying to push back the flames. One shouted to the others, his voice muffled by the roar of the fire. Their eyes caught sight of the lion trapped inside the inferno, his body a dark silhouette against the orange light. For a moment, man and beast stared across the blaze. The lion's body trembled, not from fear of the humans, but from exhaustion. His sides rose and fell violently, each breath a struggle. He swayed as though his strength would give out at any second. And yet in his eyes there was no surrender, only a desperate plea. The rangers threw down canvas sheets, beating back the fire to carve out a narrow passage. The lion hesitated, uncertain, his muscles coiled tight. The fire snapped and roared around him, forcing him closer to the only path left open. He lowered his head, coughed again, and pushed forward. Each step was slow, burdened by pain. His paws, scorched and blistering, left dark prints on the earth. The forest groaned as another tree cracked and fell, sparks scattering in all directions. The lion flinched, his body jerking sideways, eyes wide. For a brief instant, he looked toward the sky, mouth open as though calling out without sound. He stood caught between two forces, the fire pressing from behind and the uncertain path ahead carved by humans. But what happened next with the animal turned out to be even more unexpected. You will not want to miss this moment. The air had grown thick and heavy. Smoke rolled low across the ground, carrying with it the sharp odor of burning resin. The forest, once green and breathing, now hissed and cracked as flames consumed its edges. Heat pressed down like a physical weight, and the sound of the fire filled every space, drowning out the smaller noises of life. In the center of this chaos, the lion moved with visible strain. His steps dragged, claws scraping against scorched soil. His mane, darkened with soot, clung in damp strands to his neck and shoulders. Each breath came as a ragged pull, his chest lifting sharply, then falling with a shudder. When he tried to roar, only a hoarse rasp left his throat. His body, built for strength, now trembled with weakness. The rangers worked quickly, their movements urgent but measured. They struck the ground with wet sacks, creating a broken path through the flames. Water hissed as it touched the fire, leaving brief openings before the heat closed in again. One ranger gestured toward the lion, urging him forward with steady hands. They kept their voices low and firm, understanding that sudden noise could push the animal into panic. The lion hesitated. He lowered his head, eyes narrowing against the smoke. His nostrils flared as he tested the air. Then he shifted one paw forward, pressing down onto the blackened earth. The ground was still hot and he recoiled with a grunt, but instinct demanded movement. He tried again, this time forcing his weight down despite the pain. A tree split nearby with a sharp crack, crashing to the forest floor in a spray of sparks. The lion startled, his muscles tightening, and for a moment it seemed he might turn back into the fire. His sides heaved as he stood still, caught between retreat and survival. The rangers reacted instantly, waving and shouting to draw his attention toward the opening they had carved. The sound carried through the smoke, a human call against the roar of nature. The lion's ears twitched. He turned, fixing his gaze on the thin corridor ahead. He stepped again, slower this time, but with more certainty. His tail lashed once through the haze as if marking his resolve. He passed the fallen tree, ash falling onto his back like gray snow. His paws left dark smudges in the wet soil laid down by the firefighters. Then another obstacle emerged. Figures appeared through the smoke. Not rangers, but men who had come for reasons far from rescue. They carried tools and moved with the confidence of those who sought opportunity in disaster. Their presence shifted the air around the scene. The lion's head lifted sharply, his eyes flashing with alarm. His mane bristled despite the heat. He stood frozen, recognizing the threat, too weak to fight, yet too proud to retreat. The rangers shouted across the fire line, their words clipped and forceful. They moved to block the intruders, standing between the lion and the men. The forest groaned again, flames snapping at their boots, the tension rising like the fire itself. The lion swayed on his legs, his breathing shallow, his ribs showing with every pull of air. The moment stretched, every heartbeat carrying the weight of survival and danger. The animal's instincts surged once more. With a deep, rattling breath, he lowered his body and gathered what strength remained. He stepped into the passage, ignoring the pain in his paws. His body leaned forward, muscles straining as though each motion required his last reserve. The rangers moved with him, clearing the path, striking the flames, keeping the way open. The forest had become a battlefield. Fire, smoke, humans, and one exhausted lion. Every detail carried the sense that time was running out. The balance of life and death was measured in seconds, and the next moment would decide everything. The climax of his story begins right now. Everything will be decided in the moments ahead.